Hello there friends, IEM Cologne's main stage starts shortly, so it's time to discuss all the latest news. Unexpected changes in CLOUD9, a new coach for Faze Clan, and teams in Cologne who made it to the main stage through the qualifiers. Without further ado, let's get straight to it. First, let's talk about the major news from yesterday. CLOUD9 experienced an urgent and sudden substitution. Buster will be playing instead of Exile. Well, that's the end of the fairy tale for those who thought CLOUD9 would crush everyone in Cologne. Now they might face some tough challenges, so what happened? It all started when Buster posted a photo from Cologne on his Telegram channel. Then he added a suitcase with the CLOUD9 logo and for some reason shared a photo of Yekindar. No one understood what was going on. Why did Buster come to Cologne and what does Yekindar have to do with it? CLOUD9 provided an official statement that Exile couldn't obtain visa in time, so they had to replace him with Buster. That's how it goes. If the team advances to the playoffs, Exile might have a chance to join the roster, but the likelihood of this happening is slim, to be honest. Let's hope that Exile quickly resolves his visa issues and returns before the playoffs. Because, you know, they will be facing the best teams in the world and it won't be easy to advance through the group stage. It's not like I'm personally hating Buster, but you must understand that the team has been practicing hard with Exile all these weeks, and Buster is a player of a different caliber. It would have been better if he fulfilled similar roles, but that's not the case. CLOUD9 will have to come up with something on the fly and adjust their strategies. Only 3 teams from each groups advance to the playoffs, and they also have Heroic and ENCE in their group, along with several tough teams from the play-in. Overall, CLOUD9 will have a tough time, and it's unfortunate that this highly anticipated debut comes with such a sudden substitution. Nevertheless, the only thing for us left is to wait and see. The next news is about Navi. They have decided to assemble an international roster not only for their main team but also for their academy squad. The current all-Ukrainian roster will move to Navi Youth and a new team of youngsters will be formed from scratch. The main requirement for the players is to be fluent in English. It will be interesting to see what comes out of this experiment. Moving on to other roster news, Faze has officially announced that the legendary CS 1.6 player Neo will be their new coach. For now, it's just a temporary thing, but if things go well for the team, he may sign permanently. More news comes from North America. Rush has officially left EG and is now open to considering new offers. He's even willing to switch to coaching, which indicates that the end of his career as a professional player might be approaching. It's a bit sad. Lastly, a Russian-language esports website, cyber.sports.ru, conducted a massive interview with Flamie. He shared a lot of interesting details which we might cover in a separate video if you're interested. As always, vote with likes and comments. For now, here's one cool thing that Flamie mentioned. I believe that the duo of Boomic and Blade was strong because Boomic embodied what Blade communicated to him. Boomic is the type of person who is not afraid to sacrifice himself for the team. He would enter sides, be the first to die, or play roles where self-sacrifice was necessary. It perfectly fit Blade's structure. When Boomic started calling things on his own, we had problems, conflicts, because Blade would say, "What nonsense are you talking about?" But as far as I know, when they won the major without me, Boomic was able to add something of his own, just like Electronic. Speaking of Electronic, many say he's not a great captain, that results declined and so on, but in reality, when I played my last tournaments in Navi, Electronic would often make calls, sometimes throughout the whole game. For example, he would take the initiative and say, "I want to make this call, listen to me, we'll win." And we never lost such games. As a captain, Boomic may not be as much of a leader because he's quite vulnerable, but he could still assert himself with charisma, take the hits upon himself. And that's also an important trait. When a person doesn't tilt and just keeps playing till the end, no matter what happens on the map, it's one of the Boomic's strong sides. Ah, the good old times. Now Electronic is the captain of CLOUD9 and Navi has assembled an international roster. Everything changed. And very soon we will see these teams in action. Since the main stage starts really soon, I suggest briefly discussing how things were going in the playing stage. First, let's quickly go over the first day of the tournament. All starting matches were best of 1, then the games were single elimination and best of 3. NIP started against Into the Breach, as you know the British team added Neofrag from OG and signed Bemus. However, it didn't help them at all, they were blown away 5-16 and didn't show anything. The battle between Maos and the Mongols was much more exciting to watch. Both teams had new lineups, with Siyuhi as the captain for Maos and Jim Fat as the lurker. This match even had triple overtimes. The main hero of the match was Torzi. 50 frags, simply unbelievable. I've only seen this kind of performance from Zyvo in his prime, when he single-handedly dominated the tier 1 scene from out of nowhere. But it's not just his achievement, it's also thanks to the new captain Siyuhi. In an interview, Torzi mentioned that he felt amazing in the youth team under Siyuhi's leadership. They gave him freedom and he showed incredible numbers. Under Dexter, he had to play in a different style and he couldn't fully unleash his potential. Well, now he's back in style. Maybe it's a one-time thing, or maybe it will be like this from now on. We'll see. As for Dexter himself, he also didn't disappoint with the new team. They delivered a real thriller against Complexity. Just one round will show you the intensity of the match. At 4-4, Holzerk managed to win the round without dying in a Molotov with only 2 HP.
Shots on the wall bang. Roy needs help to get that bomb down. He's got the shot. He's got it. Oh, no! Holzerk just has to live. 2 HP. 3 seconds. All he has to do is live the wall bang.
Oh, Complexity. Complexity did it!
Oh my god! What a round encounter!
Can you imagine how many factors had to come together for this round to be won? He survived the Molotov with only 2 HP and got killed only after the time ended. Incredible! But the main question was how Mezi would perform in this new role. As a captain, he managed to put up unreal numbers, but now he's been relieved of those duties. And I'll tell you this, oh yes, Mezi is very good. At 10-11, he secured 3 unbelievable headshots with the Deagle, and it was from that round that Fnatic comfortably reached 15th. But even these all efforts weren't enough, and Complexity managed to force overtimes, but thanks to Mezi's 39 frags, Fnatic still won 19-17. Next, OG played against the Polish team 9, and everything was under the complete control of the Nexa-led lineup. They were in defense on overpass 13-8, and there were no signs of trouble. However, boom, the Poles took one round, then another, then a third, and then the match turned upside down and went into overtimes, where 9 subsequently finished off OG. Nexa scored almost 30 frags, but it didn't help the team. If your captain is leading the statistics, it means something is off in the team. Next was the match between Astralis and Liquid. It was a rematch from Blast, and Liquid were insanely charged up for revenge, but something went wrong. At some point, they were losing 210 on the attack on Ancient. Rainwaker even had a 0.5 KD, and Yekinder also struggled a lot. Anyways, Astralis easily crushed Liquid with a score of 10-2 and defeated them again. BlameF is doing pretty well as a captain, and his statistics haven't suffered much either. Moving on to Monte versus Imperial. Both teams experienced roster changes. Some were minor, like Boros replaced by Bro, but for some, I mean the Brazilians, it was a massive reshuffle as they had to play without Fallen and Cello, and it turns out that it's beyond their capabilities at the moment. While they looked somewhat decent on the attack on Nuke, they were completely demolished by Monte in the second half. Imperial managed to secure only one round on the stronger side. With such performance, they won't get far. However, many were eager to see what Furia would show with their new lineup. They have a Brazilian dream team, Fallen, Keiserato, Yuri, it's something to dream about. The key was for Cello to perform like he did in Imperial and for Art not to ruin it. Basically, it's an ideal lineup. After looking at the roles, everything seems more or less clear for Furia. Keiserato as the lurker, Art as a super aggressive entry fragger, Cello doing a similar role but in slightly different positions. Yuri handling all-round entry fragging and Fallen providing the necessary flashes. They played against Greyhound in this setup and it worked perfectly, except for Vexide. This guy single-handedly won 3 or 4 rounds in the first half. In one round, he just smashed everyone with Deagle, in another he got an ace. Additionally, Furia conceded a couple of unnecessary echo rounds, resulting in a 9-6 score in their favor during the attack on Ancient. Not that of a perfect performance.
Perhaps Keiserato could be next on the naughty list. How has he hit that one? He actually did take a bullet. down to 1 HP, finally finished off. Flanks on flanks on flanks. Salis needs a weapon, and he needs a frag. One shot, and he's done it for Australia. 4 kills from Alistair.
It has just been the individuals in these moments.
Fortunately, their defense was on point and they easily closed out the match. Let's see what they will show in the best of 3. The remaining matches of the first day were quite one-sided. Apex had no trouble dealing with BIG, conceding only 4 rounds in the second half. Jacob displayed glimpses of his youth, delivering remarkable performances. All the next matches were best of 3. Mouse faced NIP and the young players simply crushed Hampus's team. On Nuke, Frozen was on fire, securing clutch rounds and even ace kills. At one point, Mouse was leading 15-8, although they nearly lost their advantage later on. Nevertheless, they managed to close it out. Frozen's 34 frags were not in vain. On Inferno, it was a complete domination. Again, Frozen and Torzi dismantled the opposition, and Mouse even led 11-3. Overall, it was a straightforward victory for the young team. I really like this Mouse lineup. I believe they will make more noise than their previous one. Now, let's see how they fare against the true giants in the main stage of the championship. Lastly, on the first day, Fnatic played against 9. Though the scores were relatively close, Fnatic completely dominated their opponents. On Ancient, they led 9-2 in the attacking side and then easily finished the game for defense, with Mezi scoring another 30 kills. On Vertigo, it was a bit tougher for Fnatic, as they started with a score of 1-6. However, they annihilated their opponents later, taking 15 rounds against 9's 4. Now it was Roge's turn to shine, securing 31 frags. This new Fnatic lineup has a very promising start to their journey in Cologne, and they, along with Mouse, advanced to the main stage. And that's basically all we've seen in the first day. On the second day, the action began with a knockout match between the Mongols and Into the Breach, where both teams needed to showcase their best performance. The Mongols successfully accomplished the task, while the Breach's team suffered an absolute failure. The first map ended with a score of 15-3 and the second with a score of 14-3, making it completely one-sided affair. Next up was the match between Astralis and Apex, with high stakes, as it determined which team would advance to the main stage. The losing team still had another chance though. The teams quickly exchanged map picks, and Astralis looked very strong on Overpass, conceding only 3 rounds in the second half, while Apex put up a great fight on Anubis. On the decisive map Ancient, things looked bleak for Astralis as they trailed 13-8. However, BlameF won a crucial 1v2 clutch that essentially turned the whole game around. And then came the amazing comeback from Astralis. BlameF displayed great individual skill and determination, securing a wallbang and then managed to tie the score 15-15. After such a stunning comeback, Astralis easily closed out the match in the overtimes and secured a direct spot in the main stage of Cologne. It was tough, it was difficult, but they did it. Moving on to the next knockout match, Imperial vs Greyhound. There was nothing interesting here as the Brazilians dominated their opponent's map pick, winning 16-5. They lost their own pick, but it didn't matter since they were already leading 13-2 on the decisive map Nuke. Greyhound didn't stand a chance and they were eliminated from Cologne. Next up was Liquid vs BIG, also a knockout match. On BIG's peak, Liquid looked solid, with the Kinder securing almost 30 frags, and at one point they led 15-9. However, BIG didn't perform particularly well, losing their pick and struggling on Mirage. When NAF won a clutch at 13-8, it seemed like a guaranteed 2-0 victory for Liquid. They were confidently marching forward, but then suddenly everything changed. They started making mistakes and ended up losing the map in overtime from a score of 13-8. The mistakes were so absurd, it was just basically unbelievable. Honestly, it was a bit sad for BIG. They fought so hard on Mirage, made great comeback and believed in victory, but then they went to the decisive map Overpass and fell apart. They were trailing 2-10 on the attacking side. It seemed that while BIG can perform incredibly, they can also crash and burn. It ended 2-1 with Liquid still in the game as the Germans were eliminated from the tournament. Now we have only 2 games left, starting with OG against Complexity. It was a one-sided affair also. Complexity decided not to show up on the attack at all. They only managed to take 3 rounds on Mirage and 4 on Overpass. Despite Holzerk and Elish's great aim, such a weak attack in Cologne just won't work, so Complexity follows BIG and gets eliminated. Now let's move on to the last match of the day, Monte vs Furia. Who will secure a direct spot in the main stage and who will have to sweat for it again? The Brazilians chose the first option and easily dominated on the opponent's pick. Everything was going smoothly until one moment when Monte won a tough 2v2 situation.
Down to 13 HP, almost nowhere for him to stand. An exchange of grenades, they're so tagged though, but that's a big headshot. Bro in the clutch now, new man with 13 HP trying to defeat Yuri. Got to be careful about his head. Yuri's looking for him to stand behind that default position and just pop him. That bomb continues to tick. He has got a kit though. Looking for Bro, who's just hiding as Yuri presses forward. He delivers the headshot, and that's a much-needed round.
After that, the game went upside down. Monte managed to do everything right. Duels, entries, and clutches. Their defense was perfect on both A and B sides. In the end, despite being down 3-8, Monte confidently won their map pick 16-13. It seems like, even without Boros, the team feels extremely confident. Unfortunately, the next two maps were also one-sided. On Overpass, Furia faced no resistance at all, especially in defense. Monte couldn't find a single round on the attacking side, resulting in an easy 16-5 victory for the Brazilians. I guess Fallen just brought some valuable knowledge from Imperial because it was their best map, and now Furia is also very strong here. And the same story continued on Ancient, but this time Furia couldn't do anything against their opponent's defense. Only one round for the stronger side, a complete failure. Queserato and Cello seemed like they were absent from the server. On the other hand, Monte played brilliantly with everyone having positive statistics, excellent reads on the opponents and a top-notch shooting. Thus, Monte secured a 2-1 victory and a spot in the main stage. Furia is not eliminated yet, they will face Mongols for the coveted slot. So these were the first 2 days of IEM Cologne. Who surprised you the most and who impressed you? Now the real heat starts as the main stage begins. Vitality, Heroic, Navi, CLOUD9, G2, the cream of the CS scene, all in one place. Let's watch and enjoy. Stay tuned so you won't miss anything. And hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. I'm not saying goodbye for a long time. See you soon.